60%. 60%. We're going. All right, Mark, I love it when you do the countdown.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, citizens! You're now trapped in the Nerd Cage with your hosts Mark and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
Yes, hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in Nerd Cage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. So thank you for joining us on this lovely Thursday night. You chose us over Baker Mayfield. We appreciate it. So subscribe and hit that like button. I am your co-host, Jay St. G, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York. And always with me, my man, the Fiend from Louisville, Mark Withers. Bring our guest in, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? Super excited to be here, and yes, this is take 2 of our episode with our very special guest tonight. He's a very good friend of mine, a former guitarist from System Divide and Comic-Con aficionado, Joseph Spiller. Hey, what's going on, man?
Just kicking back. You know, the shirt is bananas, whatnot.
Dude, love the shirt, man. Yo, point your camera down a little bit. Let everybody see the shirt. We can't really see it on the live broadcast. Look at that. There we go. Donkey Kong will be going nuts right now. Hey, we got Titan Goji in the chat. What's up, man? Thanks for dropping in, man. We appreciate it. So, Joseph, just give a little bit of background on yourself, what you do, and I know you've worked the comic convention circuit, so we'd love to hear. So tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you.
Okay, for those who don't know me, which is pretty much everyone, I have been a musician for the past 20 years. I'm old. Feeling old these days. Like mentioned, with System Divide, Metal Blade Records, Caricature, Too Late the Hero. Too Late the Hero did some cool stuff with Lamb of God, and it was cool to work with them. And I kind of lurk behind the scenes. I also mix records and do a lot of graphic design in the t-shirt world, so out there you've probably worn something that I've designed. I'm just not the most into promoting myself. I lurk. I'm really good at lurking, but with all being the musician thing, I was more into the work part of it and doing sessions and doing gigs and touring. So to survive in that, so I could keep doing it, I selfishly want to go to Comic-Cons, and I found out many years ago that you could start volunteering at Comic-Cons and they'd give you the free admission and then they'd pay you after. And one thing led to another, and I ended up working with Wizard World. So anyone up and down the coast, all over there, read exhibitions or read pop for you older folks, all the way from New York Comic Con #1 up to a few years ago, C2E2, Emerald City, and just kind of banging around the U.S. I've gone to all the big cons because I'm a glutton for punishment.
Just a real quick,
That's awesome,
just want to say hello to Atlanta Jet in the chat there. So thanks for dropping in. We appreciate everyone who's dropping in tonight. So you mentioned Comic-Con and stuff like that. So we just learned that Walking Dead's coming to an end, and one of the cast members of Walking Dead you've worked with. Can you share that story with us?
Okay, so for anyone who's gone to New York Comic Con, you always kind of know that the big event year to year is almost always the panel for The Walking Dead. And a few years ago, and I'm sorry that I cannot remember the exact year, they kind of started blending together. I'm going to say it was 2012 or 2013. They did their big panel. Everyone's stoked. And for whatever reason, Norman Reedus was like, hey, I want to go meet some people because, you know, they do the streams, they do that panel, but there wasn't a lot of signings. And to his credit, Norman Reedus just walked out into the floor on his own with no security.
Oh no!
And it took a couple seconds before people realized. You see Daryl walking by, and everyone there is a comic fan, mobbed. We had to shut the floor down to try to get him out from him. And like I thought that was like the classic. Like it's maybe kind of dangerous, but I thought it was really cool that he went out and did it because for a fan, when you can rarely get up close to them, he wasn't trying to make money. He was just there signing anyone who threw anything in his face. He was super good sport about it.
Awesome.
And I'm trying to think what else. Okay. So Mark brought something to my attention just a couple nights ago. Listen, I'm the biggest Mortal Kombat fan. So you know where I'm going with this. So Mark told me, I don't know what convention it was, but you've met Ed Boon, right? Hold on, I think we.
Can you hear us?
Hey, Joseph, can you hear us?
Joseph?
We're back. Hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we lost you for a second. So Jay was asking about Ed Boon. Like you and I had a conversation like back a few weeks ago when I was telling you about Daniel Pacina being on our show, and we kind of had like a short conversation about Ed Boon, and so he was just asking, like, have you met him, and like what story can you share with us about that?
I met him more as a fan, so I didn't get to do it in the working thing, but being the nerdy nerd that I am when it comes to this stuff, I grew up on Mortal Kombat, and for better or for worse, I was like 8 playing those games, putting in the blood code. Probably wasn't the best
ABAC, ABB.
Yeah, like I'd have the Game Informer, and there's a picture of a guy there. I'm walking around, and I'm like, wait a minute, you kind of look like, and like at the time, he didn't have a badge on or anything. I was just like, you kind of look like the guy who did that. He's like, oh, really? Yeah, I know a few things about Mortal Kombat. And he's like, yeah. He's like, what do you like about the game? And I was, going in all that. And you're nerded out. And then he's like, oh, I'm glad you like my work. And I was like, wait a minute. You are that guy. And I kind of like how he wasn't like, you don't know who I am kind of thing.
Right.
There's a lot. You meet that in like the video game world sometime. I'm not going to talk bad on anyone. But I thought it was kind of cool that he kind of like let me go with it a little bit and then wasn't like a jerk at the end. So I will give that very much to his credit.
Right on. That's cool.
And let's see, what else? So, I'm trying to think. So, what would you say? Let me ask you this: what would you say the best? I know you've worked a whole lot of them, but what would you say is the best, like Comic-Con or best convention that you've worked at or love being a part of?
Okay. So for the spectacle of it, people are gonna not like this. It's not San Diego Comic-Con. I'm sorry, guys. It's just not. New York Comic-Con, maybe it's because I'm an East Coaster, or maybe it's just the Javits Center is phenomenal, and I can't get enough of it. Every year, the New York Comic-Con really delivers, and it's just the atmosphere there is... I hate saying electric. It sounds like disingenuous, but you walk in that place, and I guess like that chill Cali vibe wafts over to the con. But any of you living near the East Coast have been there. Us East Coasters, we're kind of jacked up all the time. And it translates well to the Comic-Con feel of it. And there's always great guests. There's great premieres, and especially where it takes place in the fall. There's a lot of those big premieres coming up for television, horror stuff sometimes, and a lot of the big series. So I always really enjoy that. Pandemic times, I'm very sad about that. But I will shout out a smaller con because I think it's just like, it's small, has really cool guests, and it's like you got your elbow room.
Right.
You can have fun. It's relaxed. The Granite State Con up in New Hampshire, they do that thing right every year. And I'm not just saying that because Vermin Supreme shows up every year. If you don't know, if you're not from New England or not into politics, we're not going to get political here. Just say that his political platform for the past 25 years has been a pony in every household. So I'm in. So that's cool. And New England, you always get the Turtles guys and stuff, and I'm a sucker for that. I can't say no to it.
Right on. Right on. So let's shift gears just a little bit here. Normally, we talk primarily movies here, on our channel. And, recently, as I'm sure that the trailer for The Batman starring Robert Pattinson just dropped. And, we were kind of pretty impressed with it. We wanted to know, as sort of a comic aficionado and someone who kind of knows a lot about Batman, we wanted to kind of get your take on it. What's your thoughts on this upcoming movie? Do you think they're going to sort of get it right? Do you think there's a lot of stuff that they might kind of get wrong or kind of miss the mark on? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm always to the mindset that when a movie, when you only have that trailer, you got past the logos and stuff,
right?
40 seconds worth of the plot, and it's just little slivers there. So I try not to be too hard on it.
Right.
The one thing they've definitely doubled down on in the trailer is that this is another very angsty Batman who is very much Revenge City, and that kind of I'm kind of spent on that theme. I think he can be kind of an anti-hero. Tortured guy, but I don't want to see another Batman that is Gotham's biggest problem. Which, let's be real, since Frank Miller, Batman is Gotham's biggest problem. He's creating all the bad guys, and he could, the SNL skit where was it Chance the Rapper, and they're talking, and they're like, "Yo, so you just go around beating up criminals, and oh yeah, you're a billionaire. Why don't you just give money to charity?" He's like. I feel like that's very accurate, though. I get that Wayne Enterprises has been corrupted by these people, but Bruce, you're still a billionaire, man. Just create a new business, create new jobs, don't create more criminals. So I'm worried that it might go down that path, even though I love the Affleck version, and
so do
everyone can chastise me for this. I think Affleck was so good as both Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I'm with you.
Yes.
We are with you.
Someone gets it.
Thank you. I feel he didn't get the script he needed to really do it. But as far as Affleck playing that role, I think he did such a great job. It's just he's out marking people for death in that movie. That's not exactly very.
Well, to me, that was Frank Miller's vision. That was Frank Miller's vision. That's why I liked it.
Right.
By the way, hello to Cindy Lou in the chat.
Yeah, I am very much worried that it's going to go down that path. However, what gives me great hope, as we all saw, Hush is going to be in there, and one of my all-time favorite Batman villains of any era. I don't want to be spoilery for someone who hasn't read the books.
Well, have you seen? What did you think of the animated movie, the Batman Hush animated movie that came out last year?
So good. Those animated movies are fire every time.
Awesome.
Absolutely. No, here's one thing I want to point out. You were talking about Batman being the biggest problem in Gotham or whatever, and you mentioned this trailer. One thing that I don't think people are talking about enough in the trailer there is you see Batman walking into the crime scene in front of all the Gotham PD. He's actively, yes, we've seen Batman in the interrogation room and on the rooftop, but this is Batman walking into the crime scene. I haven't seen shit like that since Batman the Animated Series. So I'm kind of glad that they're throwing that aspect in there, that this is a Batman working closely with the whole Gotham Police Department, and they all know who, even though he's a freak to them, but he's in there working with them. I thought that was a really cool thing they showed in the trailer.
I'm very interested, especially that aspect in particular, because even if he is brooding Batman, he's out, just mutilating people, whatever he's doing. I like the idea that he's almost this mythic character, just so brazen, he's just walking in front of people, even though he's the Cape Crusader, he's masked, but the very visible Batman, I always kind of like that. He's sneaking around at night, and Pattinson's got this big shiny cape that really reflects the moonlight. Way to be stealth. But if he's walking out in front of the cops hey, Gotham, watch your shit. So, like, I kind of really like that.
Yeah, and I thought about that too, and I kind of feel like, well, maybe that's the point of this version of Batman. Like, if he's, you know what I mean? Like, if he's actually, walking up, directly up to the police and to criminals, like, there's that scene where there's like a bunch of like criminals and he just beats the crap out of that one guy in front of him. Maybe the point is to make his presence known as opposed to just kind of hiding in the shadows. And so I think that might be like kind of an interesting, that might be what they're trying to get across, you know what I mean, in this version. And if so, I think that'd be pretty interesting to see how that plays out.
Now, Joseph, have you played the I got the impression you're a gamer. You've played the Arkham series games, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so don't you think maybe this movie maybe ripped a page off Arkham City, where that version of the Riddler was kind of like Jigsaw?
Yeah.
I that's what I'm thinking. Like, they must have ripped the page off of that, making this is a whole new like Riddler, that like a twisted version of Riddler, and I'm pretty damn excited if they hold true to that version, that vision of Riddler. Oh man, we're all in for a treat here. I mean, it sucks we have to wait all the way till fucking October, but still, like I'm pumped. So I can't wait to see this Pattinson take on this weird version of Riddler.
I will say this: the suit that the Batarang is his symbol, and he can take it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is cool.
That one really got me. That little touch. I'm not the biggest Pattinson fan. I'll be very honest about that. I'm not a big fan of the work, but
did you see the movie The Lighthouse?
Yes. I think that's where he started taking the turn for the better.
Yeah.
So like I think we can all remember, even though 2020 is now on its 19th year with no end in sight.
Right.
when people started like first seeing pictures of Pattinson in the suit, they're like, right around that, they're like, oh, he'll never pull it off. Blah 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 blah. Personally, I think he looks cool in the suit. Like,
yeah.
I kind of like this little slimmed down version. He's got like, we had some cool cars and like hovercraft type technology in previous movies, but it looks like the gadgets for this one are actually going to be pretty sick. So that gives me hope that even though he might be more brooding than what I would like to see, I think there's enough going around where they may have thought this out a little bit better than the Snyderverse version.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I like the Snyder, man. It's like one of the few things that I do like about the Snyderverse. Like I really dig Ben Affleck as Batman. He's like my favorite Batman out of all of them. I think that we've talked about this before, Jay. Yep. I think that this is the only version of Batman that we've seen on screen that like Batman is the person and Bruce Wayne is like the character. Like, you know what I mean? Like the person, Bruce Wayne is the character, and Ben Affleck's the only one that's really ever played it that way. Physically he looks like the Batman that I would imagine as I'm reading the comic. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I like it for that reason, but I'm also kind of excited to see what Pattinson's going to do. Not because I think that he's like this great actor that's going to really like pull something off, but just the way that they're kind of letting that character unfold. Like, this is supposed to be like a year 2 Batman. So everything about him is primitive. Like the costumes, like looks like something that he just kind of put together himself. Even the Batmobile's just like a souped muscle car. Yep. Like it seems like he hasn't met Lucius Fox yet. You know what I mean? So they haven't kind of like put together this like very high tech version of Batman yet. And so I think that's gonna be an interesting part of the story. At least I hope so.
Yeah, what's funny is that we're getting, technically speaking, we're pretty much getting 3 Batman movies next year. Obviously, you got the Batman, and if you want to throw in this, the Suicide Squad, and the other one I want to ask you your opinion, Joseph, the Snyder Cut of Justice League, which I'm stoked for. Oh, come on!
Yeah, he's
no, that's okay. Okay, no, go ahead. I want your honest opinion. Go ahead. Okay. The floor is yours.
Okay. It's that whole fool me once, shame on you Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, what number are we on now? Like, I want to have high hopes. I really do. But am I just making a fool out of myself this time if I think Snyder's going to pull it off? The dark side that looks like Gorilla Grodd more than he does Darkseid, like, I don't really know what to make of that. And Justice League was just such a turd. I don't know if it can be polished, but I will say this, as to Mark's point, the Batman angle is so good in that it just never gets time to go anywhere. You know, he's kind of lurking in the background, he's having some nightmares, and then he's kind of putting the team together, and that's basically it in Justice League for him. So if they have a lot of extra Affleck footage, then I'll be really stoked. But until I know that they do, I don't even know if I can be optimistic yet.
Hey, Joseph, tilt your camera back up just a little bit, like upward. There we go, better. But here's the thing, though. You just mentioned you want more. Okay, this is gonna be a 4-hour version of this movie, not using any of that Josh Whedon footage, and it's gonna be into 4 one-hour episodes. Like, and the trailer, in my opinion, looks nothing like the version that we got. It looks like a completely different movie, all right? I have hopes for this. I really do. And listen, I didn't really hate Justice League as much as everybody else did, but I acknowledge that it wasn't good because I loved Batman vs. Superman, and I wanted a true Part 3. I feel like this is the true Part 3 that we're supposed to get, and they're handing Zack Snyder the keys. They pretty much apologize to him, and they're letting them finish the movie with no studio interference. Like, I'm hoping that this movie is just as dark and brooding as Batman vs. Superman was.
I'm going to give a shout out right now to Titan Goji. I see you with the comment, Justice League is one of those movies that only gets worse and worse after every viewing. Right to my heart, from your words to my heart, I'm feeling that.
Shout out to Titan Goji. I'm glad you popped in. Scotty Bannock, he's a good friend of mine. He says you are right. So you got people on your side, but I'm just saying, like, but this Snyder version, like I said, it looks darker. I like the look at the design of Steppenwolf, looks completely different. Black suit Superman, like, come on, dude. And like, it's just everything is there for this to be good. And what if they knock it out of the park? What if this was like turns out to be really, really, really good, and we're like, and then, you know, maybe they let Zack Snyder come back, or, you know.
I don't see that happening.
There's also rumors out there that they might just do a continuation of Ben Affleck's story, but on HBO Max only. That rumor's flying around right now.
If that rumor's true, I'll be super excited, because what I would really like to see with the Affleck version, right? He's very brooding, he's very angry, he's marking people for death. Where in like if we go full Miller, he's eventually going to paralyze himself from going nuts on everybody and like start just executing. So let's hope it doesn't go there. I would like it to see, come on, it's Affleck. We know how Affleck is as an actor and the stories that he's drawn to. So if he gets some say in that, there would be some development of the character where maybe he pulls away from that a little bit. Even if it's last minute, I'd like to see that growth of like this really out of control Batman that eventually hits like his catharsis and like gets it together. If they can pull that off in a series, like we're living in a golden age of superhero like series right now. Right. That could be like up there for me, because I've been waiting for that story to be told my entire life.
Right.
And then how do you
personally?
feel...
I'd like to see. You know, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Personally, I'd like to see a little bit more of like the backstory of that version of Batman. You know, like in Batman versus Superman, we obviously see Robin's suit with the spray painted "the joke's on you, Batman." I want to see like remnants of that story. I want to see like, you know, how does he get to where he is now, and what does it do to him to where, like, there's a line I think in the Ultimate Edition of Batman versus Superman where he's having a conversation with Alfred, and Alfred says, well, I guess we're criminals now, and he looks up, he's like, we've always been criminals, Alfred.
Yeah.
You've never heard like Batman in any iteration of it, live action cartoon, you've never heard him like consider himself a criminal, but in that version you do. So like it makes me like wonder, like, well, is this what he always thought, or has he just now come to that realization? And I kind of want to see that story. And if they do, like, if that rumor is true and they do like actually get Affleck for like a limited series where it's just Batman and not the rest of the Justice League, I'm here for it, man. That's the story I want to see out of all of it.
Yeah, and there's, and I think wasn't Ben Affleck's like original script for his solo movie was supposed to be about him in Arkham Asylum?
I don't know the premise.
I don't know. I'm just going off internet rumors right now. I mean, there's a lot of rumors. Okay, let me shift gears a little bit. That's what I wanted to ask you earlier. So with Flashpoint coming out, how do you feel about the idea of Michael Keaton coming back as an older version of the Burton Batman?
If someone out there doesn't like Michael Keaton, take a long walk off a short pier. That man is a national treasure, and
yes.
If he would allow us to see him in that movie, we should be grateful.
Oh, I'm with you.
Right.
100%. I mean, I'm surprised he. Mark and I talked about this on one of our previous shows. I'm surprised he's coming back because when he watched the movie Birdman, clearly he was kind of poking fun at himself about playing Batman, and like you heard all the stories, like he hated filming those movies, he hated wearing the suit, he refused to come for Batman Forever, and like he hated by the time he was fed up. And then now that he's pushing 70, by the way, he just turned 68 like a couple weeks ago. He's pushing 70, and he's coming back to play. Well, we don't know if it's going to be like a full-fledged Batman or just Bruce Wayne or what, but the fact that he's actually coming back at that age, I mean, I'm just it's astounding. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Go ahead. What?
I was just saying, like, though he is up there in age, he looks great for his age. Like, some of his contemporaries, they look. But you look at Keaton, and if you're looking in like the Batman lore, and I know this was the rumor going around and people really want it. It doesn't seem to be true, but if they did a Batman Beyond, it's going to be like the mentor. Like, oh my lord. And if we're doing Flashpoint and there's all these different ones, if we can't get the Batman Beyond where he's the mentor, Bruce Wayne, older type style, they could put it into Flashpoint, and that would be kind of cool.
Right. And that's I guess that's kind of the story that's been going around, is that he's like, even in Variety, they kind of reported that he's supposed to, his role in the DCEU going forward is supposed to be him being a mentor to other heroes. So we're probably not going to get him as like the Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne. I think he's too young for that still, but it'll probably be more of like a Nick Fury kind of deal where he just kind of like randomly shows up in different films, but not in the bat suit or anything, not doing any kind of action. I really don't even expect him to be in the bat suit in Flashpoint at all. I think it's probably going to be kind of closer to like Ian Glenn playing Batman in Titans, where you never see him actually as Batman. You only ever see him as Bruce Wayne. So that's kind of what I expect. Now, if we get him actually like as the 1989 Batman, that would just be icing on the cake for me.
Oh, Following Gavin decided to show up. He's our moderator. He just says, I'm a Marvel guy, Jay, but DC movies have been kind of lackluster for me, with some exceptions, of course. It's probably going to take some multiverse action to reinvigorate the meat to the DCU. And yeah, and I get that, because I feel like that Marvel's actually got this, obviously this expanded universe thing, but DC has a golden opportunity to do the multiverse, so that everything that I grew up, everything that you grew up with, everything that Mark grew up with, it's going to be canon. That's like the cool thing about it. It's like everything that we've watched growing up. And now I'm also hearing a rumor. This is another rumor I read. Okay, this is not news, rumor. that they're saying that there's a possibility that Brandon Routh could appear in Flashpoint as a, as Superman in that universe too. So, rumor.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, even before this, a lot of this is just like, if they do that kind of stuff, then, how much are you getting into like just like fan service versus actually like telling a good story that's going to like actually do something for the DCEU. You know what I mean? I think that whole issue, like with like Crisis on Infinite Earths, like when they did that, I think that was the whole problem with that. Like they didn't focus on actually creating a story. They were just like, well, let's get this version of Superman. Let's get this version. You know what I mean? And it was just turned into this like massive fan service, but there was no real like story there. It wasn't well executed. The effects were terrible. Everything about it like was disappointing to me because I had been waiting my whole life to see like a live action Crisis, and if they do the same thing with Flashpoint, like I'm done. I'm done with DC.
I got hope for that Flashpoint because I feel like they're taking their time with it, and I think having Ben Affleck confirmed and Michael Keaton confirmed, certainly help. Hopefully it's executed well. I want to shift gears just slightly, but still keeping it within Batman. I'm sure you all read, recently that there's talks of Joaquin Phoenix coming back to do more movies. Joseph, I want your opinion. What do you think of the Joker, and do you think that should just stay as a standalone movie, or would you like to see that eventually be crossed over with Pattinson? And what do you think?
Here's my deal. I know even like from Joaquin's interviews and everyone who worked on the first movie, they saw this one self-contained movie and there was going to be no sequel. But when I watched it, I'm sitting here looking at him, he's up on the cop car, all that, I'm like, this story just began. Like this is right. Like you can't leave me hanging like this. So I'm really excited to see it spawn hopefully one or two. I'd like to see a trilogy out of that and see him hit that full craziness that he's always been capable of, and I'd like to see it go towards the cult where he's kind of a cult leader in some iterations of the Joker. I'd really like to see that come to fruition. However, personally, I don't want to see it cross over with any other movie. I want to see that to be its own universe to itself, because I think that's kind of the magic of it. Like, Now we look at it, it's $1 billion movie, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, money talks.
Yeah, and when it came out, they're like, we have this tiny budget, this is going to be like low bang, not a lot of special effects kind of movie. And that's what really drew me to it. Like, that's what got my interest. It's like, cool, they're really going to focus on some story here rather than, and I'm not going to say this to knock the Snyder verse. He's very big about the Flash and the design aspect, and Snyder, as a designer of characters and environment, minus Doomsday, like, bro, what happened with that? But like the costumes, everything looks so good. I like that completely opposite of the Snyderverse version of Joker. So I'm really hoping it stays self-contained, because once they start trying to put that crossover in and sow the seeds for it, that's when I think they might get lost on this great little universe they've created.
Right.
Yeah, see, my thing is, like, I feel like the movie's one of my favorite movies ever, and we saw him like become the Joker at the very end, but we haven't seen him become like the mastermind criminal, because you could tell he was like not too smart. But I want to see how, if they make another movie, I just want to see how he becomes like a criminal mastermind and how he plots everything and how he learns to plot everything. That's what I want. If they were to continue that version, that's what I want to see, is how he becomes the mastermind.
Right.
All right.
I also kind of like that little bit there.
Yeah.
You're talking about him becoming the mastermind.
Yeah.
If we were going to have that go forward into some sort of other universe crossover, I want to see that at the very end. Like, he's all working up to this, like all the issues we see that he has with his past and the Waynes. I want to see him hit that point where he hits the mastermind point, but also hits the point where it's pure anarchy. The whole allure for the Joker for me is that he really just doesn't care what the consequences of his actions are, and he might have like this crazy, like as we've seen with Heath Ledger, you know, he blows up a hospital. Whatever, we don't care. We're just trying to make a point. Right. I want to see him doing crazy stuff just for the sake of sowing discord, and I hope that's where it takes its little lift off to.
Yeah, I'm probably in the minority here. Like, I am not 100% convinced that Arthur Fleck is the Joker. Like, I'm kind of the mind that this is a story of one person, and maybe the actual Joker comes in contact with him at some point, but this is not like the Joker that we know.
Yeah.
You know, the appealing thing about the Joker for me is that you really know absolutely nothing about him. You know what I mean? Like, every origin story that we've heard is like not really an origin story. Like, and even like in some versions of the comics, he doesn't even remember where he came from. Like, he's just always been here. And so is this version, is Joaquin Phoenix ultimately the Joker? Like, I would like to see in a sequel, like a situation where maybe he plays this same character, but then he comes in contact with somebody else, and then you follow that person into their journey into becoming the Joker. And maybe in that story, maybe at the end, he's not the Joker, but maybe it's somebody else. You know, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's something that I've been thinking about since they kind of announced that there may be like a sequel or a trilogy in the works.
Mark, you just mentioned a bit ago, you were talking about the comics, and Joseph, you probably have your finger on the pulse more than I do on the comics, but a lot of things. One thing is, I hear a lot of people. I was listening to some other podcasts. The big thing in the comics right now is the 3 Jokers comic that's out right now. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
I won't go too deep into it because I want people to come into these books and not know what's going to hit them, because I think them showing, if anyone looks for like the action figures, if you look at what McFarlane's doing, it'll give you an idea of where this is headed. But the idea, like, as we're shifting off of the metal series and all that stuff, that there's just, you know, you can create a Joker more than one way in more than one body.
Right.
And if it's the, I don't want to say it, but, you know, the more Superman-oriented one, or that the Joker may or may not be one of the Robins. Maybe they hint to that, maybe they don't. Right. I think, as we're talking about, like, there could be many iterations of the Joker, that the current comics do such a good job of just exploring it without making it canon, because I personally was always a fan of the Elseworlds books, where it would take your favorite superheroes and villains and put them in these different...
Yeah, like Red Sun.
Arenas. Yes, exactly. Like Red Sun, what is it? The very first one, Gotham by Gaslight.
Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah,
that one was awesome.
Like, classic. I like what they're doing with the comics now. But what my worry for anyone who does read the comics kind of religiously, we may all remember when they tried to bring back the Watchmen with DC, and
Doomsday Clock, are you talking about?
Yes, and they bring the Joker into the Watchmen universe. That was just such a steaming pile of comic that, like, I'm worried. Like, when I see, like, the metal series, we're headed in such a cool direction. I've been spoiled by that I worry that we'll hit it. For anyone who hasn't read those comics, please do yourself a favor and, you know, don't fall into the ploy of the variants and how much some of these are going for. With the Joker Robin, I'll just refer to it as that because that's what it's being referred to with the variant cover. Don't shell out that money, get that trade, support the brand as they've pulled out a diamond.
Right.
Love them for it. I won't get too political on that, but read these books and go in knowing as little as you can, because it's a brilliant ride so far, and I'm anxious to see what happens, but worried that Watchmen thing was just so bad. It's just so unbelievably bad.
All right. So it's about 8:40 right now. I wanted to get our the debate that we had planned here, and so one thing I figured the easiest way to segue into our debate. A lot of the Batman movies have had pretty stellar, movie soundtracks. Right. I know there's a guy in here named Scotty. He can't get enough of that Batman and Robin soundtrack because he's like the biggest Smashing Pumpkins fan. But Joseph, you've been telling me that you're all about the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Well, let's frame it up how we framed it up when we started talking about this, because we were talking about best soundtrack to a movie of all time.
Yes.
And I will let you defend your opinions right now.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you that no matter what you say, it's going to be wrong. Because if either of you disagree with the realness that though Batman Forever, despite Jim Carrey's best efforts, was a terrible movie, however, this soundtrack gave the world Kiss from a Rose. Don't even try to tell me Kiss from a Rose was the greatest song.
I'm not knocking you, bro. Okay, so my favorite movie soundtrack of all time, and again, this is just personal taste. I can't get enough of it. Judgment Night. Say what you want about that fucking movie. I've never seen the movie. I've heard it's bad. But I love that effing soundtrack. I really do. Hello to Rose Reynolds, by the way, just popped in the chat. And Mark, I feel like yours is gonna be the hardest one to take down. Mark, what was your pick?
Yeah, so we were talking off camera before, and mine, has my favorite soundtrack is today what it was when it first came out, and that is Purple Rain. I mean, to me, that's like the greatest soundtrack of all. There's in my opinion, there's nothing that can beat that.
Okay, so we're gonna do a three-way Rage in the Cage. So I'm gonna take both of you gentlemen into the cage. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay, ladies and gents, it's time for Rage in the Cage.
Finish him.
So strap in and join the fight in the comments below. Pick a side, Team Mark or Team J. Who will it be?
Yes, here we go. Rage in the Cage, best movie soundtrack. All right, so yeah, we have three teams today: Team Mark, Team J, Team Joseph. We had to do this. We've been aching to get back into the cage. We found an excuse. So Joseph, since you're our guest, I'm gonna let you go first. Just tell everybody why that the Batman Forever soundtrack slaps so hard.
Okay, let's just keep the fact here. Kiss from a Rose, greatest song ever. We don't need to even talk about it. Seal, that buttery voice, that melody. It's got it all. And just him wearing the duster, and it's snowing outside, and he's got no shirt on and leather pants. It's beautiful. But we put Seal aside, even though we shouldn't. We should never ignore Seal. Look at it as a whole, though. I will be brutally honest on this. U2 is trash. However, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, where did that come from? If a movie as bad as Batman Forever can inspire that song from that band, there's some magic going on here. And, it's hard to really... I mean, anyone who likes, the cheesy 90s beginnings of pop punk, Smash It Up by The Offspring? Come on now.
Yes! I'm all about that track. I love Offspring.
And then, you go down this track list. Like, I'm pulling it up right now just to look at it. Offspring covering The Damned. We know it's good. Nick Cave? That's one of the best Nick Cave songs ever released. I don't know who Michael Hutchence even is. But he
singer from NXS.
There we go. But, like, Sunny Day Real Estate 8, that song is fire. But I don't want to I don't know if I can overstate this. Massive Attack with Tracy Thorn covering Marvelettes.
Yep.
Come on. It's just.
I'm not knocking you. It's just great because you're bringing me these flashbacks. I'm getting these flashbacks from a long time ago, from a long bygone era that I miss so much. And it's definitely worth re-exploring. I'm looking at the chat right now. Everybody's like jumping on Mark's bandwagon right now.
Because they know the truth, man.
And I got some people saying, wait a minute, you guys are all wrong. Everyone's like the Rock of Ages soundtrack. Okay, yo, Mark, go ahead. Mark, take it away, man. Just bring your rage.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. I mean, everybody knows that line. Everybody knows that line, right? It was the definitive album of the 80s without even being attached to a movie. Every song from beginning to end weaves an important, powerful, emotional tapestry that created an entire mood that made you think about why it would be great to live in Minneapolis. You know what I mean? And, it's just like every song on that, Let's Go Crazy, When Doves Cry,
yes.
Purple Rain, the title track,
yes.
The Beautiful Ones, Darling Nikki, every single one of those was a hit, and every single one of those is timeless. You could play it today and it still doesn't feel dated, doesn't feel stale, feels fresh, feels different. On top of that, both of you guys picked soundtracks that are essentially compilations, right? They basically are done by like a number of different bands. This is one guy that wrote all of these amazing songs and performed all of them and produced all of them. And it's just, every time I hear it, I just want to purify myself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. Doesn't get any better than that.
I'm dying because all I can think right now is the Dave Chappelle spoof. That's all I'm thinking about right now. And Charlie Murphy's like, yeah, because Purple Rain just came out and Prince was the shit.
Right. Assemble your crew.
Okay, Lou, you've just won the whole chat over, Mark. Even Titan Goji, who's not even old enough to drink yet, is siding. Listen, here's gonna be my argument. Okay, I feel like maybe everyone in this chat either maybe they love Prince and that's fine. I'm never gonna knock the Prince. He's like one of the best artists ever. I'm never gonna knock him for that. But Judgment Night, I feel like, is a very overlooked soundtrack because the movie was so goddamn terrible. It definitely brought us the best soundtrack ever assembled because now you have your essential rock and heavy metal artists, but the rap groups of the 80s and 90s that were so big at the time working together. Slayer and Ice-T, Run DMC and Living Color, Cypress Hill and Pearl Jam. Let me repeat that. Cypress Hill and Pearl Jam on a track together. Faith No More and Booyah Tribe. I mean, my God, Helmet and House of Pain. Like, these collabs are unheard of. Like, what Aerosmith and Run DMC did way back when, 1986, Judgment Night took that formula to the next level. And I just love this goddamn soundtrack. I recommend it to everybody. Anyone who's a fan of those bands and that era of music have to check out this soundtrack up. And the bands and the rap groups who are still performing to this day still perform those songs live in concert to this day. Team J.
Make a strong case.
Team J.
So guys in the chat, like, let us know, like, what do you guys think? Like, who you with? Whose side are you on?
Listen, we all know, like, I know Mark's running away with us right now, but I really highly recommend it for those. I feel like everyone needs to like rediscover these soundtracks. This is what we really wanted to do. We all three of us have a musical background. We've all worked in the industry, and we like, you know, these are soundtracks that we want to get out there right now. Like, do yourself a favor, even if you haven't heard of them, check them out, or if you haven't heard them in a while, take a re-listen, because these soundtracks will never be replicated again.
Right. Truthfully, I love all three of those soundtracks. I mean, I side with any of them.
Absolutely. I mean, that was so much fun. Holy smokes, man. So okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm real quick. My favorite track of Purple Rain, "Let's Go Crazy." I mean, come on, come on. It doesn't matter what kind of music you listen to. That's a great song. As for Batman Forever, listen, my older sister was the biggest Offspring fan, and that's all I heard growing up. So that song, to me, it was like my pick. I know everyone talks about Seal and Kiss by a Rose. That video dominated MTV. Directed by Joel Schumacher, by the way. Fantastic video. I mean, when I think MTV, I think of that video. But to me, Offspring. Come on, man. So those are my two picks for both of those soundtracks. As far as Judgment Night, oh, man, it's such a tough pick. I think my favorite track in there is is Booyah Tribe with Faith No More, because that one, again, I don't think Faith No More ever collaborated with anybody else. So, and so that's my favorite song off of that album is that track there. But every single one of those collaborations, fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, definitely better than the movie itself,
yep.
Right? I mean, you know, but I agree, man. Like, you know, if we're doing picks off of each one, you know, I'd say for Batman Forever, I don't know the name of the song, but Susie and the Banshees did a song on there, on that soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's called like Face to Face. Joseph, am I off on that, or do you remember?
I don't think it's Susie.
I remember the song, but I just don't remember the title of the song. Anyway, Susie and the Banshees has a song in there, and that, to me, that's the best song of the album. And then as far as like Judgment Night, I gotta go with Just Another Victim. Like I just love that hook, you know.
Oh yeah.
And,
dun 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 dun. Love that.
Yeah. And then, you know, I don't know if I can pick a favorite off of Purple Rain. I would say either Let's Go Crazy or the Beautiful Ones, and those two are so different from each other. I guess it would just have to depend on my mood. But honestly, like with that record, if I start the first track, I have to listen to it all the way through. Like I'm a diehard Prince fan, and you know, like may he rest in peace. You know, I just love that album. That's my absolute favorite Prince album out of anything that he's ever done. So there's that.
Joseph, if you had to pick songs from each soundtrack, what would you pick?
Well, on one hand, Judgment Night, we've been hearing Disorder being played ever since. It's hard to, for me, Disorder is, when I think of that soundtrack, I think of Slayer and Ice-T, and just that, Disorder! I hear that in my head in my dream. But if we're going for my favorite song of that, Living Color with Run DMC, myself, and my microphone is just so good. And as a huge fan of Living Color, it's everything you like about the band. It's them doing another great collaboration. If anyone who listens to the second record, Stained, I mean, that was full of great collaborations too. But this one, there's something special. So I will go with Me, Myself, and My Microphone for that one. Purple Rain, it's cheesy, and like you don't want to pick the title track, but can we deny how good the title track to Purple Rain is? The guitar solo, like once that guitar solo hit, let's call it what it is. Every player ever since then has been trying to recreate that guitar solo.
That's right.
So not just because I enjoy it, but I think the importance that track has to music as a whole is so undeniable. I'd be a fool not to pick it. And yes, I should pick Kiss from a Rose. Kiss from a Rose is the greatest song ever made. But, you know, when you're talking Seal, he's got slaps, bops, jinx all over the place. It's hard to not, like, recognize his body of work. So I'd have to actually go with Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me by U2 because it's the only song they have that isn't complete garbage. And this crappy movie inspired them to make it. So that's magic in itself.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh! So all I'm thinking about is that South Park episode. Bono doesn't want to be. Don't call me number 2. Take it back. Take it back. Yo, the chat. Oh my god! Look at the chat right now. So, Scotty Bannock says I listen to Kiss from a Rose at least once a week. Elena Jet points out that Face to Face is off Batman Returns, not Batman Forever. Everyone else is just saying
right.
Prince for the win. Well, and then everyone's just saying Purple Rain is it. Like, yo, everyone, what is besides these 3 gems here? Tell us a great movie soundtrack. We would love to know. Sound off in the comments. We want to know what your favorite movie soundtrack is. What's worth a re-listen or listen to if maybe you haven't heard. But let us know what your favorite movie soundtrack was. I just feel like movie soundtracks today, we hear about scores a lot, but I feel like the days of the soundtracks are like dead. So yeah. I feel like this brings us back to an era where like before a movie came out, we were excited for the fucking soundtrack, And I miss those days. Scotty Banks says Last Action, good one. Last Action Hero,
Yes.
Alice in Chains, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yes.
One of my favorite, Highlander, Queen, hello, yeah.
Yeah, I can't deny that. We were talking about Mortal Kombat soundtrack the other day, weren't we? That's a dope soundtrack too.
Absolutely. Typo Negative, Tracy Lords, GZR, like Techno Syndrome. Like, man, like the 80s and 90s, man, those soundtracks were all just like, man, there was always something.
That was the time.
Always something popping, dude, man. So I feel like soundtracks are lost. And now, try buying a soundtrack now. They are hard to track down.
I mean, do they even do them like the way that they used to? I mean, I haven't actually when I hear a song now, like in a soundtrack, like I just kind of like go to Spotify and like listen to that single. Like, do they actually compile them now the way that they used to?
I mean, sometimes a lot of these, some get like vinyl re-releases. That's like the thing. Vinyl's like the high thing. And that's another thing interesting. Vinyl has outsold CDs for the first time since the I don't know, like the early 90s. It was just a big article the other day, like vinyl. It was on Loudwire that vinyl finally outsold CDs now for the preferred way to buy music, which doesn't surprise me, but it's still pretty cool to see that happen. Oh, so look at the chat right now. We got Guardians of the Galaxy. Yep. Any Edgar Wright movie, Scott Pilgrim, Baby Driver. Yeah. Yes.
I like that Scott Pilgrim soundtrack a lot. It's got Plumtree on it. It's got a couple Beck songs. There's a band on there called Metric that I love. They do the song Black Sheep, the one that Brie Larson sings in the movie. There's a lot to like on that album.
Natural Born
Killers.
Killers.
I'll even be in defense of today's soundtracks a little bit. Like today's soundtracks, there aren't many of them, but we're also forgetting the Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack. And somehow no one has mentioned the Black Panther soundtrack, which produced 4 number 1 songs on Billboard, and how many? I'm always ready for a war again. Like, we've always seen that in our head. Like, maybe we're being a little rough on that, but I also see at the same time Venom with Tom Hardy. They just got like one song from Eminem where he just says Venom, Venom.
Yeah, it's like his worst song. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Booksmart, but I think that also has like a really good soundtrack on it too.
Mark, another one you mentioned,
on there.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah. Man, I could have picked that one. That's a really good soundtrack. Like if you're into bluegrass and stuff, I really love that. T-Bone Burnett, Travis Tritt's on there, Alison Krauss. There's a lot to like.
I almost feel like we could do this rage again. Like we could pick 3 different. No, I'm serious. We could pick 3 different soundtracks. Like this shit was fun, dude. Holy fuck. Jay, let me bring you back to your childhood. Space Jam. Wow. Cooler's Revenge. Oh wow. Yeah, you meant Sin City. Yeah,
Revenge?
Kill Bill.
I'm not familiar with that.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Wow, like yo, you You guys are great, man. Everyone's talking like, wow, this is great stuff, man. But yeah, no. We're glad we were able to share these soundtracks with you guys. I mean, if you heard them, great. If you haven't, just take a listen to them or re-listen to them. I mean, I think this is a topic we gotta do again. Like this was fucking fun, dude. All right, so it's 9 o'clock. Let's open up the floor here to some. Let's get out of the cage. Whoop. Okay. So we'll have an open floor and we'll call it a night. So. All
right.
No, this was a lot of fun. So Joseph, is there anything that people can follow you? Like, is there any, like, do you have like a Twitter or Instagram or anything that you have where people can follow your work and stuff, or are you just one of those guys that hang back?
I hang back a lot, but if someone does want to follow me, I am gonna put out another record. I'm just doing it kind of low key. I had to take a beat back in recent years. For those of you who need inspiration, if a screw-up like me can go back to college and become a 4.0 student and all that stuff, I'm doing it right now, and I took time away from music. I also took some time to take care of my grandma for a bit. But in that meantime, I may or may not have recorded a record or two that are going to come out. So if you want to follow those, at Caricature Hope on the Twitters, or you can follow me by my name, Joseph Spiller, on Instagram. There's a Facebook out there, but Zuckerberg is just, we can't get past Zuck.
Right.
All right, so, Titan Goji says Atomic Blonde. Yeah, that's right, that one, all the 80s songs in there, yeah. So this is last call, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. We're gonna wrap it up. So last call. You guys got any questions for us? Questions for Joseph? We'd love to hear it. Come on. Last call. Let's go. Or Mark, do you got anything you want to add before we go?
Nothing. Not really.
All right, I'll give a last one. Since we got cut off last time, and I don't think you uploaded any of it, you were asking me about favorite guest at a con.
Yes.
And I feel it's worth mentioning the big guy himself, the real-life Santa Claus Mick Foley, or Mama Foley's little baby boy, is the nicest guy on the planet. It's not an act. I got to work with him a couple times, and he is such a treat, and I think everyone should know it, because hopefully this pandemic and all the social distancing will end someday and we'll come back stronger. And everyone should go out and say hi to Mick Foley and have a wonderful time, because, like, if you've seen the documentary that he made about becoming a Santa, he really does live that stuff. And I felt like I was 8 years old again seeing him, and he would sit there and people would come up through the line. And, a lot of times at cons, we're trying to push through as many people as we can. People are trying to make their money off those signatures and selfies. Foley would stop and talk to every single person, give them their time, and make sure that they had a memory. So I want everyone to know that, and please go do it. And also, since we're here and we're waiting for, we do have a question coming, and I will get that in 1 second. Everyone go out there, because comic creators aren't making a lot of money right now, where the comic industry shut down for so long. Yes, we should go out and buy the books that we love. We should support the posters we love. Albatross Funny Books, Eric Powell, you know him from The Goon, Hillbilly, which Jason Momoa totally ripped off with Apple Music and Apple TV. Boo. Very poor choice, but go out and buy his books. If you have any creators you love, go to their Instagrams, buy some art from them, buy some prints, support art. But the following one, a question for Mr. Spiller. Have you ever been to any of the E3 conferences? And if so, what were your thoughts on them? I have some thoughts about E3, actually. Since I've been to them kind of over the years, I've kind of seen the trends. And E3 is kind of, it's an interesting beast. We watch, like, San Diego Comic-Con, comics, then it got into the movies, and then it went back to comics a little bit, and that was more of an entertainment thing. E3 is, like, the most bipolar convention in all of America. 1 year, it's like games. Next year, it's movies. Next year, it's comics. And it's hard to really get a grasp on it because it's supposed to be all of them if you look at the marketing. And they do a good job. It's a fun con. It's a very loud con. Just for those of you who don't like loudness, if you couldn't fit, like, if you can't picture all of the games, that's all I can. It's all of the games on the floor being played at once, and then over on the other side, you have all of the creators just raging at everything, and then you have people trying to sell you stuff. So it's an interesting one, but more times than not, it ends up being some pretty cool gaming stuff.
Yeah.
It always kind of dominated these days. They do a good job of balancing, but for me, I kind of like the early sneak peeks because I'm very frugal with my money. Though, like, okay, that's not fair to say when I go blow a bunch of money on cons. But since I blow a bunch of money on cons when it comes to buying games and stuff, you get those close looks. And if you're really nerdy, there's always people on the floor at E3 that, like, if you want to talk mechanics of a game, if you want to talk about the in-depth, really nerdy coding stuff, that's one of the only conventions I've been to that you can do that. So definitely, if gaming is your thing and you still love all the other fandoms out there, it's going to give them to you. But the gaming experience is really unique there and worth checking out.
Very cool.
Okay, yeah, and actually, I'm going to add to that question. So, as of late, I mean, E3 obviously canceled for obvious reasons, but even before the pandemic started, it felt like E3 was in trouble because Microsoft is doing their own thing, PlayStation's doing their own thing, Nintendo really just does their Nintendo Directs. Like, do you think E3 has a legit future, or do you think it's done?
I want to be forever the optimist.
Yeah.
But where I think one thing, regardless of how someone feels about a pandemic in any sense, right? The times we have lived in have kind of it's accelerated how we consume things, and so quickly. Like, now we don't I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole, but we don't think about renting a new movie now for $20 off of whatever your favorite service is.
Right.
And now we're looking at consoles coming out with no disk drives. So if there's no disk drives, that's going to get rid of a lot. Like, GameStop's already
done.
They have their chance. It's not going to survive. We know that. But when it comes to these conventions, is there room for a convention when everything's just going straight to your TV? And we are like the convention at home that San Diego Comic-Con did. I didn't have to leave my house for the programming. I was kind of stoked on it. Like, if someone's going to get the idea that you can charge for people to go from their homes, if someone isn't already working on this idea, you can send your check to me up here in Maine. I'm cool with that. But I think we might see a little bit of that in these. I don't think they'll ever go away. There's always a niche, for these conventions. But I think we're going to see a lot more virtual conventions coming up.
Yeah, I mean, look at DC Fandom and like 22 million,
Yeah, right?
22 million people tuned in for that, including us, and we covered it. And I had a ball watching it. I was in my element. I was having fun, streaming that. And that's to mention, I don't know why no one else is talking about, but from a technical aspect, like, the feed came in good. Like, I never had any, I didn't lose feed or anything like that. I mean, it was a phenomenal. Say what you want about virtual convention. I thought they knocked it out of the park.
I enjoyed that too, but my only real criticism of DC Fandom was that everything was pre-packaged. Everything was kind of pre-recorded. All of the questions that people sent in or whatever. It didn't feel like a true panel. Every panel didn't feel like a real panel. It was already done, and the questions were already
so it was like a glorified
selected.
Press release.
Right, it was basically just a big press, a big press junket, which I'm fine with, because honestly, I was just there for the trailers, to see some of the, to get some of the sneak peeks and stuff like that. So I'm fine with that, but it didn't really give me the same feel as an actual con. I think that in that sense, the San Diego Comic-Con at home was a little bit better. Even though it wasn't as put together, it wasn't as polished, but at least that felt a little more real, if that makes any sense.
I get it.
How you guys felt about that?
I was really into the interactive nature of San Diego Comic-Con at home, and I agree with you. The fandom, it's not bad. Like I came into it looking at it as that this is it's basically previews.
Right.
If you grew up on comics and read Previews magazine, Wizard World, it was that on your screen, which has its place. But San Diego, I would rather, personally, if the production value is a little lower, but there's more of that interaction, you can get your questions out. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a little more on the fly. I like that about Comic Cons because for any of us that have been going to them for years, kind of the magic of Comic Cons is almost anything can happen when you get all of these creative people in one central area. You never know who's going to pop up or how they're going to interact with each other. And I think San Diego Comic Con at home did that really well. Or, you know, Comic Con at home concept follow a little bit more of that. I do love the production value of DC fandom, absolutely, because, you know, when you're looking at these trailers for, like, the new Batman game, like, I want to see it all.
That Arkham Knights.
Yeah, oh, my.
That was sick.
Oh, my.
I know, I can't wait. 4-player co-op. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. I can't wait. I love the Arkham games, but this one, like, oh, my gosh. I love that story. I'm sorry we're going off topic, but, like in this spoiler alert, Batman is dead, and then we got the Court of Owls. Like, oh man, like this is like a bold move. Like, you're not gonna play as Batman, you're gonna play as the sidekicks. And like, I mean, other than Injustice, we never really played as these sidekicks in an RPG before. So like, holy smokes, this is exciting. I can't wait for that game for sure. By the way, Joseph, I'm not trying to start a war, but are you going to Xbox Series X or are you going PlayStation 5?
I have rarely ever been brand loyal in the gaming world. That's a lie. Nintendo will always be my number one. Yep. I know, but like I like it to be so disconnected from reality. You know, I like Mario with his big old mustache.
Mario 3D All-Stars, my copy comes tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's my number one. But if we're going, we're always talking Xbox versus PlayStation. And I'm sorry, when even Xbox can sit there and tell you the PlayStation is the superior system and that they can't keep up with it, I believe them. And just the exclusive, like, there's not a lot of exclusive games in today's gaming. That's kind of becoming a thing of the past. But when Sony brings them up, boy, do they bring up some heavy hitters. So yeah, I will be going with the PlayStation. I'm not going to lie. Yep. Until Nintendo comes out, and then I'll sell that thing, and I'm just going to play every single Mario, Kirby, and Link game that they play. Yeah, and obviously Animal Crossing.
Yeah, we're trying to pull Mark in right now. I know Mark's not a gamer, but but Mark's reaction to that Batman Arkham Knights game was priceless.
That might be the one.
And he's on record saying, like, I think I'm gonna have to get into it.
that might be the one, because I just don't have like the attention span for most games, but just I'm just so like impressed by that storyline. And by just like it, I took a look at some of the gameplay. Like, it just looks like it's going to be so much fun, and I at the very least, I'm going to find the cutscenes on YouTube and watch the whole thing. But I really actually want to play this game. So if I can find the time when it comes out, I want to actually do that.
And if Cindy, your lovely wife, is still in the chat right now, I will just say, I hope that at least you bring her in too, so that way you're not taking time away from the wife. But if you can get her to join in the games too, because you know that's the thing couples do, like.
Yeah, it's true.
I just hope that that if you get into it, I hope you can get her into it too. So that way. I don't want to create no rift.
Right. Yeah, don't do that. Don't create a monster, right?
Yeah. All right. So listen, I guess we'll wrap it up, man. This has been such a great show. Before we go, just some upcoming stuff. I'm really excited that first and foremost, everyone who's been supporting the show, everyone came in. Thank you, and I'm glad everybody came in to hang out with Joseph because of what happened a couple weeks ago. But we've been having a blast doing these look backs.
Right.
We have a bunch of them lined up, and we're gonna do another look back this weekend. It's been 25 years.
Bring it down just a little bit. We can't see what it is.
Oh,
go ahead.
Well, I can see it on the stream here.
Okay.
It's been 25 years since 7 came out. We're gonna do a look back at 7. I haven't watched it in over a decade. Mark has yet to watch it.
I've never seen it. Yeah.
So we are gonna do a look back at 7 this weekend. Expect the audio to be up probably early next week. And next week we have a good friend of ours. He's going to be guesting next week. Pete Mason, who runs NewYorkStateMusic.com, will be joining NerdCage Live on the live stream next Thursday. And we are going to also have some special announcements to announce next week. We're not going to say now, but we're going to have some special announcements next week. We're really looking forward to those reveals. And of course we have the Emmys coming up pretty soon. So we're gonna react to the Emmys. Because we had our predictions, so we're looking forward. We're looking forward to see whose predictions were right, and look and see how they pull off the Emmys this coming Sunday. So, a lot to look forward to on NerdCage Live. Mm-hmm. Yes, Watchmen all the way.
Yes,
absolutely. And then Joseph, I got a question for you. I asked this to all of our guests. Would you like to come back on NerdCage Live?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think we should do another soundtrack. Yes, thank you for taking. Yes, thank you for taking your time off your busy schedule to joining us. We had an absolute blast. I think we should do another soundtrack debate because that was just too much fun.
That was fun.
We should do a mockumentary debate.
Yeah.
I gotta think about that. Like,
Final Tap, the Ninja Turtles coming out of our shells. Wing Glow. Yeah,
Pop
right.
Star, never stopping.
Oh, damn! I got that. I'm gonna have to do some. I'm gonna have to really think about that. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
There's some good ones.
All right. So anyway, yeah, expect more stuff from. Oh, by the way, check out our Tenet review. We just uploaded that. And we also uploaded our audio only of look back at The Town 10th anniversary and Almost Famous 20th anniversary. Those are up right now on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean. Check those out. Those were a lot of fun. And like I said, we have a whole lot of look backs we're going to be doing. We have a field day doing that. So, Joseph, anything you want to say before we go?
The one thing I want to say is cheesy. Times are crazy out there right now. Mm-hmm. Can we all just love each other a little bit more? Like, go out to your neighbors. Go out to your friends. You haven't seen them in a while. We've all been inside. Let them know you love them. It's never a bad time to let someone know that you love them. And, again, support art, because we all pour out here. So buy comics, buy T-shirts from your favorite bands. Get on Redbubble, whatever it takes. Support art. Love y'all.
Yes.
Wise words.
Mark, anything else, buddy?
Hey, thanks to everybody who keeps showing up week to week. We're so happy that like every Thursday you guys keep showing up. It's a lot of fun for us to be doing this, and thanks again to Joseph for taking time out to kind of hang out with us. We had a lot of fun, and we hope to do this again with you soon.
Absolutely. So listen, everybody, before we go, we ask you to pretty please like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, spread this shit like syphilis. And so to you, I say, from Louisville to Syracuse to the University of Maine, to all of our fans and friends of the world at NerdCage Live, enjoy life, stay safe, and good night.
Sayonara.
Ooh, trying to get out of the NerdCage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!